Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 1215th regular meeting and public hearing of the Livonia City Planning Commission. I wish to inform all interested persons in our audience that for petitions on tonight's agenda, which involve a question of zoning, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council, and City Council, after holding their own public hearing, will make the final determination as to whether a petition is approved or denied. The Planning Commission holds the only public hearing on requests for preliminary plats and or vacating petitions. The Commission's recommendation is then forwarded to City Council for the final determination as to whether a petition is accepted or rejected. If a petition requesting a waiver of use or a site plan is denied tonight, the petitioner will have 10 days in which to appeal the decision in writing to City Council, and resolutions adopted by the City Planning Commission will become effective 7 days after the date of adoption. The Planning Commission and professional staff have reviewed each of these petitions upon their filing. Staff has furnished the Commission with both approving and denying resolutions, which the Commission may or may not use depending on the outcome of the proceedings tonight. If our Secretary is ready, Mr. Bonjero, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Mrs. DeNaro. Mr. Bonjero is here. Mr. Ventura is here. Mr. Long? Present. Chairman Wilshaw
is here. We'll note that Mr. Caramagno and Ms. DeNaro are both absent. And I do want to thank Mr. Bonjero for taking in the secretarial duties of Mr. Caramagno's absence. Thank you. Also with us tonight, we have Mark Tormina, Jacob Uhazi, and Stephanie Reese, all from our planning department. They will give us background information on these petitions as we go forward, and we'll be able to answer questions if we have them of our staff. And for the folks in our audience who have not been to one of our meetings previously, the format is we will start with each item on our agenda. Our planning staff will then give background information on that agenda item. We'll then have the petitioner come forward to address their item and answer questions from us. Then we'll have an opportunity for the audience members to come forward and speak for or against each petition. And then we'll make our decision. And that's how the format of the meeting goes. We are going to start in the public hearing section of our agenda, item number 1. Mr. Secretary?
Petition 2024-05-02-09, submitted by Needed Relief Massage and Spa, requesting waiver use approval under Section 6.37 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to operate a massage establishment at 32003 Plymouth Road, located on the south side of Plymouth Road between Merriman and Hubbard Roads in the northeast corner section of 34.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Tormina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Needed Relief is a proposed massage establishment that would be located at the southwest corner of Plymouth Road and Ingram Avenue. The property zoning is C1 local business, which treats massage establishments as a waiver use under Section 3.7. The ordinance requires at least 400 feet of separation between massage establishments and from any school, place of worship, state licensed daycare facility, library, playground, or public park. In addition, the ordinance limits the operating hours between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. This is a multi-tenant commercial building. It's 2 stories in height. It's about 6,600 square feet in size. Needed Relief would occupy roughly 1,200 square feet on the ground floor of the building. The space includes a lobby, 3 individual massage rooms, as well as a manager's office. The operating hours as proposed would be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. The proposed location does comply with all the separation requirements. No modifications are planned to the building's exterior. Massage establishments require 1 parking space for every 150 square feet of usable floor area. Needed Relief requires 7 parking spaces. The other uses in the building require 11 more spaces for a total of 18. There are 15 parking spaces on the property. Additional on-street parking is available along Ingram, and then there's a public city-owned parking lot located 2 properties to the west, mid-block between Ingram and Blackburn Avenues. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll let Mr. Uhazi read out the correspondence.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Uhazi.
Thank you. In accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed waiver use at this time. The subject parcel is assigned the address 32003 Plymouth Road. The legal description submitted with the petition appears to be correct and should be used should the waiver use be granted. The existing parcel is currently served by a public water main, sanitary sewer, and storm water. The submittal does not indicate any changes to the existing utility leads, so we do not believe there was any additional impacts to the public utilities with the proposal. Should changes to the existing building leads be needed, the owner shall submit proposed drawings to the department to determine if permits will be required. Also, should any work be required within the Plymouth Road right-of-way, the owner may be required to obtain permits from the Michigan Department of Transportation. Should you have any additional questions on this matter, please feel free to contact myself or City Engineer Todd Zillick. If you would prefer, email as well. This is signed David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. The office has reviewed the site petition submitted in conjunction with a request to modify a commercial building on property located at the above referenced address. We have no objections to this proposal. Noted on review that grid area 1632 on the plans has a door that appears to be leading to the exterior egress of the building. The plan set shows this as an opening inward. Egress doors should have an outward swing. An actual site visit was not completed to verify. A further detailed plan review will take place when the division receives an official plan set. Signed, Brian Kukla, Fire Marshal. I have reviewed the plans in connection with the petition. I have no objections to the proposals. Feel free to contact me should you have any questions. Signed, Paul Walters, Traffic Bureau. Pursuant to your request, the above referenced petition has been reviewed. The department has no objections to this petition. I trust this provides the requested information. Signed, Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. And finally, I've reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. As there are no outstanding amounts receivable, general or water and sewer, I have no objections to the proposal. Please contact me with any further questions. Signed, Connie Cupola, Chief Accountant.
All right, thank you, Mr. Uhazy. Is there any questions for our planning staff from any of the commissioners?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bonjero.
Mr. Tormina, this could be for the petitioner, but they're requesting to open a massage establishment, right?
That's correct.
But if you go there, there's signs up, there's reserved parking for needed relief, massage and spa, and there's a sign in the lobby that says needed relief, massage and spa. Are they currently operating this business?
You know, I'm not aware of the status of the business at this time. That would be a question for the petitioner.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Any other questions for planning staff? If not, if our petitioner is in the audience, please come forward. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
We're going to ask that you start with your name and address for our record.
Michael Malecki, business address is 32003 Plymouth Road in Livonia.
Thank you, Mr. Malecki. And what would you like to tell us about your petition?
So Needed Relief Massage and Spa, originally located in Southgate where it still remains. It was opened in 2006 and I took over ownership in 2020. During that time, the spa has flourished in Southgate and we look to bring it here to Livonia to give the same level of quality service. It has been named the Spa of the Year by the Detroit Free Press for the last 3 years. Channel 4 has recognized it as a top 3 spa, as well as numerous other awards. If you have the opportunity to go online and see our Google reviews, you'll notice we're at over 850 Google reviews at a 4.9 star. We are certainly the antithesis of some of the concerns that have been raised in previous planning commissions for issues with similar types of establishments. We are a professional environment. We give outstanding professional service. My background has always been in healthcare. I'm a firefighter, nurse, and paramedic. And we bring that same level of service to the Needed Relief Massage and Spa today.
All right, thank you, sir. I believe there's already one outstanding question from Mr. Bonjero in regards to your business. Is it currently operating at this location or not?
It is. We were not aware that we needed a waiver request until most recently. So as soon as we were made aware of that by the building inspector, we submitted our petition to make sure that we were in compliance with all the codes within the city of Livonia.
Okay, thank you. We'll see if there's other questions for you from our commissioners. Is there any other questions for our petitioner? From any of the commissioners? I don't see any questions. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak for or against this petition? If so, please come forward. I don't see anybody coming forward. Mr. Malecki, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us before we make our decision?
So in previous commission, when a massage establishment has come before, there was a question about the number of establishments here in Livonia. And I think that what sets us apart is, first of all, we are licensed massage therapists. We are not doing acupressure. And unlike many others who just do acupressure, our staff are all licensed. They're employees of the spa. They receive a regular paycheck. Those paychecks in this packet I submitted to the Planning Commission are there with showing that benefits are extended to our employees. They are professionals and they are licensed by the state of Michigan. We go through all the appropriate background checks, including the state police and various other checks that we have to go through, and those were also included in the package we submitted.
Thank you, sir. And I will note for those in our audience who think that we're not asking a ton of questions on this item, this petitioner did submit a very extensive packet of information to us with background information on his business and how he operates and his current facility and his staff and everything. So I do appreciate the extent to which you gave background information to us in advance. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we make our decision? If not, if there's no other comments, I'll close the public hearing and a motion will be in order.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Long.
So I want to echo your point about this being extensively reviewed in study session and also with materials that were provided. Lucky. While I'm not thrilled that he was operating without coming to us first, he did do the right thing. Can only speak into the microphone. I don't know if it's turned up or. So, having said all that, I would like to offer an approving resolution. There, I think it finally turned on. There we go.
Yay.
So, this request to operate a massage establishment at 32003 Plymouth Road is hereby approved, subject to City Council approval and the following conditions. Number one, this waiver approval is limited to this applicant and can only be transferred to another user with approval by the City Council. Number two, that the petitioner shall comply with all the special waiver use standards and requirements in section 6.37 of the zoning ordinance and chapter 5.49 of the Livonia Code of Ordinances. And number three, that the petitioner shall not engage in any form of solicitation for business within the public right-of-way of Plymouth Road or Ingram Avenue.
Is there support? Once again, I'm going to ask, is there support for the approving resolution? If there is no support, then the motion will fail. Is there another motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ventura.
I'm going to offer a denying resolution. This request to operate the massage establishment at 32003 Plymouth Road is denied for the following reasons. Number one, the petitioner has failed to comply with all general standards and requirements outlined in sections 1.02 and 13.13 of the Livonia zoning ordinance. Number two, the petitioner has not adequately established a need for the proposed use in the immediate area. Number three, the petitioner has not sufficiently demonstrated that the proposed use would be compatible with and in harmony with the surrounding uses. And number four, the proposed use is contrary to the goals and objectives of the zoning ordinance, which, among other things, are intended to ensure the suitability and appropriateness of uses.
Is there support for that motion?
Support.
There's a motion to deny on the floor by Mr. Ventura, supported by Mr. Bonjero. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero is aye. Mr. Long.
Nay.
Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes no. The vote is split. This should go on to, since we can't come to a resolution, do we continue on, Mr. Toromita, by sending this to council with no recommendation?
I would suggest that commission consider a resolution that would push this item off to a meeting where we can have
A table?
some additional commissioners.
If the, yeah,
Try that first.
I think that's a wise move, because we are missing one of our commissioners tonight that would split a vote. Would the maker of the motion, Mr. Ventura, would you be willing to withdraw your motion and we can substitute with a table?
Yes.
And would the supporter
Yes.
be accepting of that? Then we'll cancel that vote that was just taken if the maker and the supporter are willing to withdraw that motion. And a motion to table would be in order, if someone's willing to make that motion.
So moved.
Mr. Ventura, supported by
I'll support that.
Mr. Bonjero? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to table by Mr. Ventura, supported by Mr. Bonjero. There is no discussion on tabling motions. If the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Ventura?
Motion to table.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero's aye. Mr. Long?
No.
Mr. Chairman Wilshaw?
Votes aye. And item has been tabled. And sorry, sir, that we are not able to come to a resolution tonight, but we'll schedule you to a meeting to be determined when we can have a fuller group of the commission here get your vote resolved, okay?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, we're now going to move on to the pending items section of our agenda. These are items that have been discussed at previous meetings and are coming back to us. We have item number 2, Mr. Secretary.
Petition 2023-06-02-07, submitted by 7 Mile Farmington Venture LP, requesting special waiver use approval under section 5.02 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to develop a planned general development consisting of a 75,466 square foot Meyer grocery store and 102-unit multifamily residential townhome complex on the property at 33500 West 7 Mile Road, located on the southeast quarter of Section 4.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Toromina?
Thank you. This item was tabled at the request of the petitioner on July 25th of 2023. New plans have been submitted, which include several design changes to both the residential phase of the development as well as the grocery store. I'll start with the residential phase. The 4-story apartment structure has been eliminated and replaced with 12 buildings. These are townhomes. The previous plan had 199 apartments. The new townhome development shows 102, so there's been a reduction of 97 apartment units. 9 of the buildings would be 2 stories in height, and these would include the 4 that are adjacent to the Windridge Village subdivision. Shown on this plan, those are buildings C, E, F, and I. And then the other 3 buildings would be 3 stories. These are the buildings along 7 Mile and the one facing the grocery store, and those are buildings A, B, and K. The density overall would be 15 dwelling units per acre. For mixed development centers, the master plan recommends no more than 20 dwelling units per acre. So building lot coverage would be approximately 30%. The plan includes 72 2-bedroom units and 30 3-bedroom apartments. Unit sizes would range from 1,050 square feet for the smallest 2-bedroom apartment to 1,480 square feet for the largest 3-bedroom apartment. All of the units would have attached garages, 1 car for the 2-bedroom units and 2 cars for the 3-bedroom units. The 4 interior buildings, which as you can see on this plan are buildings D, G, J, and L, form a 100-foot by 150-foot landscaped courtyard that would include sitting areas as well as a fenced dog run. There would be a 1-story leasing and management office located at the south end of building D, approximately here. Along the west side of the development, buildings E, F, and I would all be 40 feet from the property lines abutting the residential district. Building C would be 45 feet from the district. The 3-story buildings would be approximately 37 feet in height. and the two-story buildings 27 feet in height. Under the previous design, all of the buildings, or the building, the single apartment building was over 50 feet in height. There would be one driveway on 7 Mile, as well as a cross-access to the grocery store. The drive approach on 7 Mile would be 42 feet wide, which would accommodate 3 lanes. This would include a lane for incoming traffic as well as a dedicated right and left exit lanes. The ordinance requires 219 parking spaces. The plan shows 258 parking spaces. This includes 132 garage spaces, 95 driveway spaces, and 31 additional spaces for a total or an average ratio of 2.5 parking spaces per townhome. The buildings themselves would be brick veneer as well as composite siding with metal accents. All of the buildings would have peaked asphalt shingled roofs. The 3-story buildings show brick covering the first floor and portions of the second floor with balconies on the fronts of each unit. The remaining areas would be finished with horizontal composite siding. The elevations for the 2-story buildings now show brick covering most of the first floor and portions of the second level with 2 colors of horizontal composite siding. A revised landscaping plan has been submitted. It shows various plant materials throughout the site, including a continuous row of evergreen trees where the site borders residential along the west and north sides. The trees include 3 species of spruce, pine, and are all 8 feet in height at the time of planting. All stormwater would be handled underground. There are 2 trash enclosures shown on the site. One is in the southwest corner between buildings B and C, and then the other is between buildings K and H on the east side of the site. Site lighting would be limited to 20 feet in height, and the average illumination for the courtyards, the paths, and the porches would all be 1.2-foot candles. Here are some renderings, and I won't go through these and describe them in any detail. I'll allow the petitioner to do that.
That's fine.
I'd like to move on to the grocery store.
Okay.
This has been shifted 30 feet closer to 7 Mile Road. The setbacks would now be 237 feet from 7 Mile versus 267 under the old plan. This alters some of the site features, including the parking layout, the number of parking spaces, landscaping and buffering, as well as the location of the customer pickup area. Overall, the site circulation remains unchanged, including the locations and arrangement of the driveways and drive aisles. The parking has been reduced by 24 spaces from 306 under the old plan to 282 under the new plan. The corner feature, which previously included a sitting area, has been reduced and now shows a decorative landscape wall. The rendering of that is on the lower part of the screen. And along 7 Mile, the frontage landscaping at the west end has been widened from 20.5 feet to approximately 42 feet, creating a small community plaza. Closer to the store, the redesign incorporates a larger sitting area across from the main entrance. That's shown in the upper top-hand view of this. And then at the north end of the property, behind the store, the distance between the 20-foot high sound wall and the property lines has increased from 50.1 feet to 77.2 feet. The 8 pickup spaces are now shown on the north side of the building instead of the east side, along with the pickup doors and the propane sales. So previously, these 8 spaces that would be dedicated for pickup were shown here on the site. With the building shifting further to the south, they're now shown on the north side of the building in the northeast corner. Other features of the site basically remain unchanged. This would include the location of the pharmacy drive-through in the southwest corner of the building, the cart storage, bottle return area, and outdoor sales display area on the east side of the building, and then the truck wells, fire pump, employee shelter, fenced-in mechanical yard, the compactor, recycling closures, all of those remain on the north side of the building. The building's appearance has also been modified. The portions that will be visible from the roads include 3 types of insulated precast concrete walls. This includes a split face pattern along the portions of the bottom half of the building, and that's shown in the lighter shade here on this rendering. And then the top half would include both a stucco and brick patterns on the upper parts of the facade. And as you can see from this rendering, the new colors mostly include shades of brown and beige versus the gray, which was under the old design. The traffic impact study has also been updated to reflect the site changes, mostly due to the reduced traffic that is generated from the development's multifamily phase. The improvements recommended include timing adjustments to the signals at Farmington and 7 Mile, as well as at 7 Mile and Gill Roads, and then the installation of a new signal at Farmington and the north driveway across from Gable Street. Lastly, new pavement markings and signage would be provided at the south driveway along Farmington Road. And Mr. Chairman, that is a summation of the changes. I'll let Mr. Uhazy go through the correspondence, noting that he will read all the departmental correspondence. You've received a number of letters from residents that each of you should have copies of, and we've provided those as they've arrived in our office.
Yes, we do have those. And Mr. Uhazy, the correspondence will basically cover both petitions. I believe you're going to have similar correspondence for both. Is that correct?
Correct. There is one additional one for the SDM license,
Okay.
but the rest of them will all cover both.
Okay, go ahead with the correspondence then. Thank you.
In accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed waiver use at this time. The subject parcel is assigned the address range of 33400 to 33500, 7 Mile Road, with the address of 33500 7 Mile Road being assigned to the overall parcel. The legal description included with the submitted drawings appears to be correct and should be used in conjunction with the proposed project. The existing parcel is currently serviced by public sanitary sewer, water main, and storm sewer. The submitted drawings do not include information on revisions to the services or projected usage, so we cannot comment on any impacts of the existing systems at this time. The proposed development will be required to meet Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance, and per the submitted drawings, stormwater detention is indicated. But we will need to go through a thorough review of the plans once they are submitted for permitting. It should be noted that the developer will need to obtain permits from the Wayne County Department of Public Services for any work within the Farmington Road or 7 Mile Road right-of-ways. Should you have any additional questions on this matter, please feel free to contact myself or City Engineer Todd Zillick, if you prefer, through email as well. Signed, Dave Lear, Assistant City Engineer. This office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with a request to construct a commercial building on property located at the above referenced address. We have no objections to this proposal with the following stipulations. 1, subject buildings are to be provided with an automatic sprinkler system. On-site hydrants shall be located 50 feet and 100 feet from the fire department connection. 2, a fire access road shall be provided with not less than 20 feet of unobstructed width and have a minimum of 13 feet 6 inches of vertical clearance in accordance with 18.2.3.4.1.1 and 18.2.3.4.12 of the NFPA. 3, chapters 8 and 9 shall be followed as they relate to the fire protection features and alarm systems, NFPA 101, and a further detailed plan review will take place when this division receives an official plan set. Signed, Brian Kukla, Fire Marshal. I have reviewed the plans in connection with this revised petition. I have no concerns about the proposed new traffic signal to be installed at the northeast corner of the proposal at Farmington and Gable. The previous business complex, when at its peak usage, never had a traffic signal at this location. During our previous contract with the Transportation Improvement Association, they examined the proposed development as presented at that time and the traffic study completed by Fishbeck engineers for the proposal. Below is an excerpt of their response. With regard to the proposed traffic signal on Farmington Road at the Gable Street proposed development north driveway, the volumes used for the signal warrant study do not directly correspond with the volumes for peak hour traffic as reported on the 2025 future improvement traffic volumes. Further explanation on the volumes used in the warrant study should be justified. Furthermore, installation of a traffic signal at this location will have an effect on the egress driveway of the McDonald's restaurant development directly to the north of the proposed development. This is not mentioned or discussed in the TIS. Left turns from the McDonald's restaurant driveway will be in conflict with southbound Farmington Road traffic stopped at the signal. Egress traffic attempting to find a gap in queued traffic will be in heightened potential crash situation. The installation of an additional stop bar and traffic control signs could potentially improve these conditions. The final decision on a traffic signal installation is the responsibility of the road agency having jurisdiction, in this case, Wayne County Department of Public Services, should review the warrant study and determine the need. In the request of the City of Livonia for TIA to review this TIS, it was mentioned that the Farmington Road and proposed development south driveway would have no left turns onto the northbound Farmington Road. This condition was not mentioned in the TIS, and the site plan shows full ingress and egress access. If the traffic signal is approved for the Farmington Road and Gable Street proposed development north driveway location, consideration should be given to making the proposed development south driveway a right turn in, right turn out condition only. This would force egress, left turning traffic, and left turning traffic to the traffic signal location. I agree with their findings and believe further analysis to the proposed traffic signal at Farmington and Gable is warranted. Please feel free to contact me should you have any questions. Signed, Paul Walters, Traffic Bureau. Pursuant to the request of the above referenced petition has been reviewed. 1. The barrier-free parking spaces and access aisles shall be sized and marked in accordance with the current Michigan Building Code in ICC A117.1. 2. An accessible route shall be provided from the public walkway to the entrance of the building in accordance with the current Michigan Building Code. 3. All parking shall be 10 by 20 feet and double striped. 4. There are no construction details on the proposed 20-foot high sound wall. 5. A variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals would be required for any excess number and size of signs. This department has no further objections to the petition. Signed, Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. I have reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. As there are no outstanding amounts receivable, general or water and sewer, I have no objections to the proposal. Please contact me with any further questions. Signed, Connie Cupola, Chief Accountant. And finally, all taxes and water payments are current with this property. Signed, Susan Nash, City Treasurer. If you would like, I can read the last one for the separate
Please.
SDM.
Yes.
We reviewed the plans submitted by 7 Mile Farmington Venture requesting special waiver use approval to develop a planned general development under Section 5.02 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended, consisting of the construction of a Meijer store and 4-story apartment on the property at 33500 7 Mile Road, located at the northwest corner of 7 Mile and Farmington Roads in the southeast quarter of Section 4. Meijer is also requesting waiver use approval pursuant to 6.03 to utilize an SDM liquor license in connection with the operation of their new store. The review of the plans has determined that the request does not comply with the prior separation requirement guidelines. The proposed establishment is inside the separation requirements distance at least 500 feet from any existing SDM liquor license establishment. Wine Castle at 33415 7 Mile currently has a SDM and SDD liquor license, and Primo's at 33521 7 Mile has an SDM liquor license and are both 112 feet from the proposed Meijer site. Livonia Italian Bakery at 33615 7 Mile has an SDM liquor license and is 477 feet from the proposed site. Also, the Wintergreen Bar at 33320 7 Mile has a Class C and SDM liquor license and is 143 feet from the proposed site. We would recommend that the Planning Commission and City Council maintain separation requirement guidelines. It is in our opinion that these guidelines are good for local establishment businesses and maintains Livonia's family atmosphere. Signed, Jeffrey Ronayne, Special Services Bureau.
Thank you, Mr. Uhazy. Is there any questions for any of the commissioners to our planning staff? If not, Mr. Ventura, 1 second. I'm just going to do a housekeeping item. This item was both these items have been tabled. Before we discuss anything regarding this petition, let's first remove it from the table, and then we can have a discussion. Would someone like to offer that motion?
I'll offer a motion to remove it from the table.
All right, Mr. Ventura, is there support?
I'll support that.
And if there's no objections, I think we can safely show forward to remove this item from the table. All right, we'll note that in our record. Thank you. Mr. Ventura, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Wilshaw. Mr. Tormina, if this piece of property were not already zoned C2, and we were rezoning the portion of the property for the residences to residential and the portion of property for the Myers to commercial, the existing Livonia ordinance would require a wall and a substantial planting berm between the two developments, would it not?
The separation requirements between any type of residential and commercial do require a combination of elements. It could either be a wall in combination with landscaping, or just a wall, or just landscaping, and that is up to the Planning Commission and Council based on the review. But yes, there are requirements for buffering between the two uses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for our planning staff? If there's no other questions for the planning staff, I'm going to go to the petitioner who's in our audience tonight. I do want to remind, again, sort of a housekeeping item, that we are in the pending items section of our agenda. These items on this agenda have been discussed at length at prior meetings, so there will be limited discussion tonight, but we're going to have our petitioner come forward and tell us what's new with their petition, and we'll hear from them. Good evening, Mr. Shostak.
Good evening, Commissioners. Nice to see you all. It's, as noted, it's been almost about a year since we were here last time when we tabled the discussion. In that process, in this last year, we took the time to perform more market studies, further study the plan, take in and listened to everything we heard from the Commissioners a year ago, everything we heard from the residents a year ago, as well as we listened to the residents at a recent neighborhood meeting that we had, and we really completely transformed our plan. So as you will see from our presentation tonight, part of what Mark Tarmina has already showed, that the rest of our group will go in with a slightly more detail, but we really did our best to incorporate the townhomes within the neighborhood that currently exist, and by the look of them, by the size and the distance and all that sort of thing, as noted that the townhomes are about at minimum 40 feet from the fence line to the single-family residential neighborhood behind it, which Livonia ordinance really only requires 30. So we really try to create a more buffer distance, but show that it's almost an extension of the neighborhood. Then just a little bit about the townhomes. Is these are high end of the market, top of the line. The square footages have been noted. The 2 and 3 bedrooms. These are rents starting at $2,500 a month. So these will be very nice, high quality renters, and a true, we believe, good residents coming to Livonia, whether they're already here and looking to get an apartment, or they just want to, check out Livonia and not immediately jump into a home. We think our townhouses will provide a really good option for that. We also made changes to the Meyer facade, as noted, and the location of the Meyer, some of the things we heard at the last meeting from the residents and the commissioners, and just sort of high level, a couple other things worth noting before I hand it off to the architects and engineers is, this is a $60 million economic development project in Livonia, and this is a big project. It's going to add significant to the Livonia tax base. It's completely privately funded. that we are not asking for any abatements, incentives, or anything of that nature. We're happy to be back here. We're unfortunately it took a year, but we needed to do what we needed to do after everything we heard. So with that, we're looking forward to feedback tonight from the commissioners and the residents, and I'm going to hand it off to Dave Johns, who's going to kind of walk through some of the changes in the plan.
Mr. Shostak, we know who you are, but for our record,
the
can we get your
address,
name?
yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff Shostak, 17800 North Laurel Park Drive, Livonia.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Johns. I'm also with Shostak Brothers.
Okay.
Tonight we have a presentation that I think will be overall informative. We'll try not to be repetitive and try to cover the new information in a little bit more detail. I have with me this evening our team, Mark Shovers from Spire Design Group, who worked on the architecture for the project. I have Chris Jones from Meyer Corporation. I have the team from Fishbeck and from PEA as well to speak on the project if needed. So we're prepared to address hopefully whatever questions come up for the group from the group. But if we could just go through the slides real quickly.
Sure.
It'd
Let
be
us know
appreciated.
what you've done as far as changes. There's been quite a few.
Yep. So I have the same slides, but I'll certainly be looking at the screen up there. That's just a slide of the existing center that's out there, which has the former Kmart building and the furniture store. Those buildings are about 110,000 square feet in total, and then a westerly retail building that's about 40,000 square feet. That site has about 820 parking spots on it. Very little green unless you're talking along the frontage of 7 Mile in Farmington. So our second slide here, which basically is a compilation of the plan here. We tried to highlight on this where the 3-story buildings were, which are the 3 buildings with the pink dot on them adjacent to 7 Mile. There's 2 buildings there. And the third building that Mr. Termina is pointing at as well, Building K over there near Meyer. So, and then the other 9 buildings are all 2 stories. And Mark Shovers will go through the architecture of these buildings, but and then the Meyer site is on the easterly portion of the site as well. So just to highlight a few of the changes that were made that weren't talked about in great detail yet. Between the 2 sites, we've really looked to increase the connectivity between the sites and the green space. We felt that there was a lot of input at the prior meetings, both with the Planning Commission as well as all the other interested parties that we needed to do that. So you'll see some other slides as we work through that. And then we wanted to effectively improve the buffering of the overall site between our project and the adjacent single-family residential. So we have about 130 trees that are proposed that border between our project and the adjacent residential to serve for buffering. So a variety of species. They are planted in a continuous fashion along all the property lines that border as well as between the Meyer site and building, the building there as well. So you have a couple aerial views from the back of the site, and that shows some of the tree buffering. So the 4 buildings that are adjacent to the residential, as well as those buildings have the fronts that are facing towards the single-family homes. That was done intentionally so that we could take all the noise activity from the garages within each of the units and integrated all the activities for the drivability of the site internal into the site, away from the single-family residential. All lighting is self-contained on those buildings along the perimeter of the site. There's only a few light poles within the townhome development that are adjacent to the driveway out there along 7 Mile. As you can see in this slide, we have one driveway point now on the townhome development, where before, when we were looking the other multifamily option, we had two driveways for the multifamily. So we've tried to improve the driveway access as well as define the community entrance, create a neighborhood feel. We felt those were all important elements related to your ordinances, and tried to listen to that. So as relates to the Meyer site, just a quick focus. Mr. Termina covered a lot of the changes that were made made in his review, and we appreciate that. But if we could just recognize that there's a community plaza area. There you go, Mark. A community plaza area that's on the east side of the townhomes and the west side of the Meyer, that's connected between the sites. And when we were listening to the input that came from the Planning Commission meeting last year, there was not much interest in sitting on 7 in Farmington for a seating area. So we've relocated it between the two sites, created a nice gathering area, put some benches around it, put a large green belt area and buffering around it, and increased the green belt along 7 Mile against the Meyer parking. If we were to jump back a slide or two, Mark. The buffering that is immediately along 7 Mile on the west side of the Meyer site, that has been increased to 40 feet. So on that, Mark, a plan, after that we just kind of have a connectivity plan. We've looked at the connectivity between the sites as shown in the blue, is all the sidewalks that are around the townhome development. And then the connections out to the public sidewalks, which I believe is shown in the color of yellow. Jump into my slide. Green. So there's multiple connection points, both from the townhomes, one adjacent to the drive at the west end of Building A, one at the east end of Building A in the community area, and then also along the Meyer site, midway in the easterly parking towards the center there. And some of the changes that show on this plan is our new seating areas. We've created the seating area in the triangular area off the Meyer entry point. That's the top view of that slide. And so a couple benches, some plantings around there. That's directly across from the main entry to the Meyer grocery. So, and then that's a corner view to the south. So, of the 7 in Farmington corner, we've created a placemaking wall around there. We've shown Livonia on there because we figured the city would like to see that. Certainly, we're open to input on that. We've put low plantings in front of the area. All this was done is to try and address the green space, the community spaces, and the connectivity between the site. Also on the top view, there are some bicycle racks in there so that you could actually bike to Meyer. You could go through the community plaza along the west side. We could jump back to the site plan real quick, Mark. Along the west side of building, or east side of Building K. Right up there, yeah. And actually make a connection all the way from the 7 Mile public sidewalks all the way along the front of the Meyer. So, as well as out to Farmington or back out to 7 Mile. So through the two connection points. On the Meyer side of the site, the building has shifted 30 feet further south from what it was last year. That 30-foot shift, although it's only 30 feet, it had a lot of changes that were effectuated throughout the plan. It reduced the parking area that's in front of the Meyer site. We only have 282 parking spaces, which is a drop of 24 spaces from where we were before. It took the entire building and moved it as a whole 30 feet south. It took all the delivery operations, the sound wall, pulled that all further south away from the residential. So now that That delivery area is further than it's ever been. It's moved as much as 60 feet from the Meyer originally started looking at the project. And we were able to create green space behind the wall and plan it out more appropriately. So it's over 50 feet back there. We have 20 trees just in that area, and it's open and connected to the townhome that sits in the back adjacent to that. So the grocery pickup that's has been relocated to the northeast corner of the Meyer building. So, and is now accessible from Farmington Road. We're still proposing a traffic signal on Farmington Road, and we're working with the county on the review of that. So, and to make sure that that operates properly. So, and the driveway connections, if we could just quickly look at the slides after this, Mark. Actually, that one you were on was good for just a minute before that, please. That's just to outline of where the red dash lines is where the existing buildings were on the site. So you can see that the Meyer building is shifted substantially forward, closer to 7 Mile, as well as slightly further east from the Kmart limit that was towards Farmington Road, but much further west, almost 150 feet further west from where the existing Kmart building was, that westerly wall. So all that should promote a improvement towards any sort of lighting or other issues that just deal with operational with the Meyers. There's a perimeter sound wall that goes all the way around the back of the site at 20 feet on the west side, 20 feet on the north side, and 15 feet on the east side. And then we also have sound walls around the truck docks as well. So, as far as the townhomes, there is a courtyard. Mr. Tamina mentioned that between the 4 buildings that are clustered around the center. And within that, we view that as a socialization and recreation area for our tenants. That would be within the townhomes. We have a small dog park in there so that residents could actually, if they have a dog, have them in that courtyard, take them off leash. It's small, but we envision only a few dogs and smaller sized dogs. So there would be some breed limitations on that. So those are just some of the highlights. All of this was done. We certainly feel that we're complying with the ordinances that are out there for us from the Mixed Development Center, creating these 2 uses. We tried to create a neighborhood feel within this new project here, especially as you're along the frontages of these sites and the connectivity. Our townhomes, and I know Mark Shovers will go into that more, with the building and the architecture along 7 Mile, and talk about the neighborhood feel. But we tried to really look at, the mixed uses and how to work them so that there was strong connectivity, strong walkability between the sites, increased green space. Overall, this site has about a 20% decrease of paved area. So that 20% decrease really went towards green space. So there's a lot of trees that are proposed for this project between the 2 sites. It meets all the landscaping ordinances, extensive frontage trees, extensive buffering, lots of shrubberies, lots of tree variety. So the site lighting within Meyer, of course, when the building shifted and the site shifted, all that site lighting shifted as well away from the residential in the back of the site. So with that, certainly we've tried to listen to all the input that we received and present a project that we think is really a great project for the community, complies with the Mixed Development Center requirements and the goals for density and the connectivity and the, deal with the parking as best that we could work the design and, just make it work. Our access points, there's a couple of slides, take less than a minute to look at them, Mark, if we just flip through them, just to make sure we show that where these access points are. Keep going. Go back to that one real quick. That's the connection of the site between the Meyer and the townhomes. There is a cross connectivity at the front of the site, right behind the two buildings that front 7 Mile. And it basically next to the 3-story heights near the community plaza area. So next slide. Couple of elevation views of the overall site. So you can see Meyer in the backdrop and the sign on the corner for the city of Livonia, as well as the 3-story views of the townhomes along 7 Mile. You can see one defined entry in there, and that defined entry would line up across from Myron Street and go directly towards the leasing center for the property. So we would have on-site leasing, on-site maintenance for the property, and certainly we feel that that's beneficial. The community's not that large yet we're proposing. It's only 102 units, but there would be people there. So a couple of the access points. That's the southerly access point on Farmington Road, lined with the main entry. So that's the north driveway on Farmington Road that where we propose the traffic signal and the lines with the service area for Myers, as well as the grocery pickup on the north side of the building. And then that's the drive connection on 7 Mile. Still in the existing place. It's there right now, and but it lines up pretty much about the center of the building. So I think there might be just one more site slide after that. Yep, the site access point into the townhomes. So you can see the leasing building in the back. That's 1 story, and it's attached to the end of one of the 2-story buildings. So. And one more slide, and that's all I was looking to cover from a site perspective. So with that, I'll bring up Mark Shovers to present some of the architecture. So,
Thank you, Mr. Johns.
yep.
Appreciate your presentation. Mr. Schweibers, you're next up, and you're going to talk about the architectural elements, correct?
Correct.
All
Good
right.
evening. Mark Shovers, Spire Design Group, 115 East 4 Rochester again. Back to previous. I give split face base and castle tops and stuff like that. From the study, next slide please. From the study meeting last week, guys' input, analyzed that even further, integrated additional elements into the facade, which I'll start getting into. So some of the major changes from that is the increased height of the split face, so that you're getting that visibility further away from the building, just not when you're walking next to it. We use that same element as an accent band in the halfway up on the brick that kind of frames those, and also at the very top at the parapet to act as almost like a capital detail. Some other changes that came out of this are the signs on the side got relocated to integrate better with the pilasters. The accent band terminates at the pilasters to accentuate the depth of those pilasters. The pilasters have been brought on an additional 2 inches to make them more defined. The key point to how this facade is designed is almost the public customer touch points are the areas where you had the split face and the brick elements with the accents. So if you look at where the pharmacy is, this front area at the entrance and the pickup area, those have this raised elements of the facade, almost notifying the public that that's where you need to go. And then we had the relief of the darker stucco finish that kind of gives relief, so it's just not the same finish across the whole building. So it's breaking this up into smaller, manageable sections that are perceived from the public. The pilasters are creating framed openings for the storefront, much like you'd see in a downtown, an old downtown. You'd see on a storefront facade, you see pilasters and it'd be glass in between those. We're playing that, using that same technique that they've used. We also have the cable hung awning, which is a classic historical element at storefronts where signs would hang off of and stuff like that. So we've added the cable hung aspect of that, enhanced that canopy from the original proposal. And again, having that canopy and the sconces and all that, as a pedestrian walks down along that storefront, you get a sense of walkability. If it's open and you don't have those elements, you don't have the same security level that you would have if you have those human scale elements along the way. Next slide, please. These are just some images of the inside of other Meijer stores and what they're proposing at this location of their deli and their entrance element. Next slide. Just additional ones of like the butcher and the food to go and pharmacy on the interior. So now I'll talk about the townhomes. So when we designed these, obviously the previous design was scrapped, but so we wanted to look at like what makes something have a residential feel, but also a streetscape. What are like popular elements? So we kind of looked at like the craftsman style and the arts and crafts style. So you'll see elements of that replicated on the facade here. One of the benefits to the 3-story along 7 Mile and along the Meijer parking lot is the first floor is parking and there's a flex room. So those second floor is your living space. So people driving down the road, they're not looking in the second floor like if it was on the first floor. They can't look in and see someone sitting on their couch watching TV. And vice versa, the people living there looking out aren't looking at cars zooming by, they're looking above it across the street. So that was kind of intentional. It creates that street facade. All the units have either, on the 3-story, they have a, excuse me, a balcony. The 2-story units have a grade level patio. So on the 3-story, about 50%, maybe a little bit more of them are covered. The other ones are uncovered. But as far as the facade design, we did elements of different window sizes. They're not all the same windows. We got ones that are single casements. We got doubles. So we played the game of different size windows. It's just not all the same. We integrated accents just like Meijer did of accent bands. Like on our siding, we break up the siding with accent bands just like they broke up their brick with an accent band of the split face. We have box out bay elements, which is popular in the arts and crafts. We put architectural brackets under the roof on those elements to enhance those, which also creates roof interest as well because those are boxed out and that roof is raised in those areas. So it's just not, we're just not creating a flat facade that has no interest to it. The brick goes up and down. There's areas that are 2 stories, areas that are single stories. That's just because you don't want everything so linear in a residential component. On the building on the right there, it's kind of hard to see, but it's got a cool kind of lay-on gable that enhances that with a bigger, larger covered porch area that also is popular in the arts and crafts era. Next slide, please. So this is just a view of the 2-story 2-bed. Again, these elements carry throughout the development, but you see areas where people have enlarged covered patios. You see the movement in the facade as you get the standard units and the enlarged units. There's gables to break up the roof. We're using the box out bays. like the corner boards and the accent on the blue jumps off. All those moves are intentional and meant to pay homage to the historicalness of an arts and crafts era. Next slide, please. So here's a view of the leasing office. Just like the Meyer facade, we integrated additional glazing in these areas. So when you pull into the site, everyone knows that's the commercial area, that's where the leasing office is, that's where the maintenance is, they know where to go. It's not like we just have a unit that they're operating out of. There's a defined operational part to this site. Again, we have heavy overhangs to accentuate that. We got the architectural brackets. We have pilasters framing the glass just like Meyer does. Awnings at the entrance. So all these things are things that you would see in downtowns, these elements. You'll also see on the very far left and the building on the right, those 2 stories, based on our meeting last week, we have increased the brick on the back, the garage side of the buildings. So those are like kind of under the gables. We're trying to emphasize those gables a little bit more than just have the blue siding. So we did listen to you and add additional brick to the back of the buildings. Next slide. This is kind of showing the front of a 2-bed and the back of a 3-bed unit. Again, on the 3-bed, we did increase that brick on the back to add additional interest to the facade as you drive through the site.
Can we cut some of the graphic here?
Sir, please let this gentleman speak. Go ahead, Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Next slide. Next slide, please. These are just elements on the building, which we've already talked about. So it's high-end, durable material. So brick veneer, cement board siding, metal trims. These are elements that are going to last. They're not aluminum siding that's going to dent. They're not vinyl siding that's going to crack. These are high-end, durable products that will last a long time. Next slide, please. We just submitted the elevations of the change of the brick, but I think if you go, to the night shot. So, night shot of the Meyer. So again, you can see with the clear glass curtain wall illuminated at night, it creates this great entrance element with that wood backdrop on the back wall. It's very inviting. It's well lit. It lets people know this is where you enter the building. It'll make the pedestrians feel safe. You can see our elements of the signs have moved, which are self-illuminated, and the accent bands and the sconces lighting under the canopies. Next slide. Just kind of a view of what the townhomes would look like with if some windows or some lights were on in units and the leasing office lit up. And then just a corner view of the night of the site as a whole. So, I think that's it, unless anyone else want to speak? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Schreibers. Appreciate your presentation. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Chris Jones. I'm Senior Real Estate Manager for Meyer, and I'll be really brief. But I wanted to say we're excited to be back in front of the committee again. We're proud of our changes that we've made. We've listened to the public, their comments, Planning Commission's comments, neighborhoods' comments. We've had a rapid response meeting with the city. We've had a work session with the city. So we've really tried to listen and incorporate that and make this an even better project than it was a year ago. Just real quickly on Meyer, as most people know, we're a Michigan-based company. We're family-owned, been in Michigan. We're celebrating our 90th year. We've been a corporate citizen of Livonia since 2005. This store is unique to Livonia. There's not another one in our state footprint. It's been specifically designed for Livonia. Its architecture is specific to Livonia. There's not another one like it. We view this size, this format store of 75,000 square feet to be a future Meijer store in multiple locations throughout our footprint. We can only do so many supercenters. We're at 266 supercenters in our chain now, and we've opened 2 Detroit area 90,000 square foot stores in Macomb and Lake Orion, but this is we've scaled down that store to 75,000 square feet, and it's intended to be the merchandise inside is intended to support the family, pets, infants, pharmacy, food. So we hope we'll get a favorable outcome tonight, and we can move towards city council. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jones, for coming tonight. Is there anything else from your presentation? Okay, let's see if we have some questions from the commissioners for you based on your presentation. Is there anyone on the commission with questions for the petitioner?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bonjero.
This is in regard to the privacy wall in the back. I don't know who it would pertain to. There's currently brick masonry one there, and I think the plan said it's to remain. I brought this up last year. The current fence is only about 4'9" tall, and typically what we see is a minimum of 6. There was a neighbor that said they attended the meeting was it the Winter Garden, Bill and Alicia Fettner, and they said they talked to Mr. Shostak about removing the wall and putting in an 8-foot privacy fence. They felt it would make it better for safety and look better. Have you guys given any consideration to that?
Mr. Johns, do you want to be the initial spokesman for the group? And of course, you can go to one of your experts if it's relevant.
Sure. The existing wall that's out there is typically 5 feet or above. It's in good shape. Certainly we felt that with the 130 trees that we're planting along that area, that would be adequate from a privacy perspective. Those trees are initially proposed at 8-foot height. We don't feel that we have a security issue where we need to build a taller wall or a taller fence just to build that, especially when we're planting so many trees from a privacy perspective. If there's a interest by the commission to increase some of the heights of those trees to 10 feet, we could do that, certainly. That would provide even more privacy initially. But just to put a fence in front of the wall or to take down a wall that's in good condition, we didn't see much benefit to that.
Okay, so your answer is no, you're not going to do it.
Mr. Shostak?
Yeah, just to add to that is everything Dave stated, is correct. With adding the trees, we think that solves a lot of that, but we don't see a reason to take down the wall. But if it's needed, if it's thought by the commissioners to just add on to the size of the wall, I think at one point it was higher, and then as the surrounding area got developed, the grade and it sunk a little bit on one of the sides. But we would certainly be open to adding on to the wall, and Dave could specifically state ways that we've done that just to make it, more like a 6 feet or 7 feet, whatever it is that's discussed.
All right, thank you. Mr.
I think that would be, the minimum I would think is to extend it to 6.
Okay.
Because in some areas, I went around and measured it, and it's not even 5 feet. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Okay. We would be prepared to extend it up to 6 feet, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Thank you, Mr. Johns. Is there any other questions for the petitioner?
Mr. Carmena, or Mr. Wilshire.
Sure, Mr. Ventura.
I guess I'd begin by complimenting the Shostak organization in their sensitive redesign of the residential portion of this development. You did a good job of listening to the comments that all of the residents made a year ago and came back with a plan that's far less intense and far more reflective of the residential product that already exists there. So I offer my compliments to you for that, exhibiting that sensitivity. However, a couple of comments. As Mark pointed out, when I asked the question after the petition was read, I feel like there needs to be more of a barrier between the three-story residential building on the eastern edge of the residential development and the Meyer store. And Mark, if you could put the landscape plan up there. There's really a dimension. There's a plan that's got some dimensions on it. And I have that.
Is it the black and white?
Yeah, it's black and white.
I don't have that up, but give me a minute to find it.
But Mr. Johnson, it appears that the three-story townhomes are 70 feet away, plus the width of the planting bed you've got there from the wall of the Meyer store. Do you know by any chance what the dimension of the planting bed is?
That planting bed, I would say that the building C, which, I don't know, Mark, if you could.
Building H13 on your plan, at least the one I'm looking at.
Okay, all right. So if you're referring to building H has 20-foot parking spaces in front of it, and then a 24-foot drive aisle, so
Right.
that's 44 feet. That planting bed, I would say, is approximately 20 feet to 20, maybe 26 feet in that range total. And it's planted with double trees all the way through. So there's 30 trees that are buffering from the south edge of the sound wall all the way to the mire. And for building H specifically, that's the garage side of the units. So,
And the trees that are planted according to your landscape plan in that strip are 8-foot conifers, is that correct?
generally 8 foot, yes.
Yeah.
So.
Is there any reason that you couldn't mound that planting bed up and make a more, a better barrier between the townhomes there and the blank wall of the Meyer store?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we could do some grading in there and create a small berm area.
Make a more effective barrier, site
Yes,
barrier.
yes.
That'd be great. And my only other comment, and I addressed this at the study meeting, is that I'm disappointed in the fact that Meyer wants to build a precast concrete building. All the homes in this neighborhood are brick or brick and siding. Recently, the Gorgaro Company across the street took a 60-year-old building and put stone and brick and architectural metal in the front of it, did a beautiful job. The Hellenic Bakery east of the Winter Garden Bar, got to be an 80 or 90-year-old building, just reface the entire building with brick. And I don't think a precast concrete building, in fact, I've probably been on the planning commission for 10 years. I can't remember us ever approving a project like this with a precast concrete building. They've always been brick. And as I pointed out at the study session, I drove around and looked at every other Meyer building I could find in the immediate area. And two things were obvious to me. Number one, no two of them looked alike, and they're all brick. And so, to Mr. Johns or to the Shostak organization or whoever makes this decision, I'd really like to strongly urge you to make this a brick building, number one. and to take another step with the modifications that you've made, and I think those are good first steps.
Peter, can you move
Make it-
closer to your mic, please?
I'm sorry.
Move closer
He
to
wants
your
you to
mic,
talk,
please.
I'm sorry.
We got the message, thank you.
Got it, thank you. To take another step and make it, change the architecture a little bit so that it's more residential looking, so that it's not so stark a contrast between the very, very nice design that you've done with the townhomes and this, admittedly very commercial, kind of industrial strength Myers building there, so that the whole site fits together more compatibly than it appears to at the moment. And those are my questions. I appreciate you agreeing to enhance the landscaping between the townhomes and the wall of the Meyer store. And I'd like you to take another step, and I'm willing to. And I really don't want to impede your progress any more than you've already spent a lot of time on this. And I'm not suggesting that we stop and go back and do another redesign, but I would like you to work with the planning department in taking some further steps to make this a brick building and to make it more compatible or harmonious with the residential development that you've done. I know Mr. Jones commented at the study session that this poured concrete wall or simulated brick wall was the least expensive way to do it, and it probably is. But I'd suggest that any incremental increase in cost that you might incur upon the construction of this business over the 30 or 40 year life of this building is going to be inconsequential. It really won't matter. But it will make a difference to the quality of environment here. And it will make it more harmonious with the residences that you're going to build there. And so I'll conclude my remarks. Thank you, Mr. Wilshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Mr. Johns, is there anything that you'd like to say in regards to, or Mr. Jones?
Yeah. I want to thank Peter for his comments, and I think I know you closed by saying you didn't want to impede the progress, and I appreciate that. I think when we attended a study session back in, or we called it a rapid response, I believe, in January, there were about a couple of city council members, a couple of planning members, most of Mark's Tremina's staff attended. We took a lot of notes at that meeting about make the building more industrial, make the building more hip, make the building more earth tones, make the building look like it's been there a long time, make the building look like you did in Royal Oak. So that's what we took away from a meeting in January. I think perhaps Mark Scovers could speak to a little bit about how we've tried to implement some design elements from the apartments into the design of the Meyer more eloquently than I can. But also wanted to comment on the brick, brick veneer versus brick forms. The technology in the forms has improved immensely over the last 25 years. They can pour these forms to look like rock, to look like wood, to look like brick. We could, Peter, if we could look at maybe painting the mortar joints so they're not all one color, maybe painting them a grout color. But I also can take back to corporate, it's not the least expensive method of construction with these preforms. They just go up quicker, they are insulated, they're structurally sound, they have a lot of integrity, so there's some benefits to the forms. But I will take back your comment about a veneer brick finish to our corporate council, to our corporation. It's, there's 4 sides to a 75,000 square foot building, so it's a lot of brick. I don't know where the brick would come from, but there's a lot of it. But I will take that back, and perhaps we could, come back with some ideas. But I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any other comments from any of the commissioners or questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Long.
It is working, okay. The apartments, when you had the map up there, we had the courtyard and the dog run. Are there any other amenities? Is there a workout center, a community room, anything like that?
Someone like to address the amenities of the townhomes? Mr. Flavor?
So when the unit count drops, some of those benefits that previous design had are eliminated. So like we had the courtyard, so we got a couple sitting areas with grills. We got dog parks. There's an outdoor, or there's a package center and mail center, so your packages just aren't left on the porch to get stolen. But as far as like gyms and pools and stuff like that, this unit count doesn't lend itself to amenities like that.
How does that affect your target marketing? I know that I heard these were going to start at $2,500 a month. Who's going to live here?
Yeah, so these are young professionals, families that have moved to Livonia and don't know what neighborhood they want to buy in yet. They know they want to be here, but they don't know where they want to buy yet, or someone saving up and doesn't have the money for a down payment. Also, a lot of people that live in townhouses of this style are empty nesters. They're tired of cutting the grass, taking care of the house, and they just want to go visit the grandkids and stuff like that and not have to worry about the maintenance on their house. So you kind of get this younger demographic and an older demographic.
Okay. And I guess I have just a similar question for the Meyer representative. That obviously, as it's been pointed out in a lot of our correspondence, we have our share of grocery stores and places where we can get things in Livonia. What was your market study on this? Where do you intend to, obviously you've got 102 new residences here, but that's not going to be all the people that you expect to shop there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we certainly have competitors here. We only have the Supercenter. We have actually 2 that kind of serve this community. But this is a convenience play. It's kind of like we take out of this store, the general merchandise, the sporting goods, the electronics, books, magazines, clothing. So it's more, we see a demographic and a shopper for this product that's very busy, time-starved is what we call it. They have 2 working parents and a family, and they have, they almost are shopping 3-4 times a week for their meal preparation. And the Supercenter tends to lend itself, I mean, it's certainly not there's certainly exceptions, but it tends to lend itself more to a weekly shop, very busy on the weekends. And all the other things you may pick up on a trip to Meyer for your home improvement items, paint, filters, whatever the case may be. We get into these, it's very interesting how the electronic commerce, becomes more and more prevalent. And we see this size of store that you can shop in 30 minutes instead of an hour for time-starved people. We offer curbside pickup here. We offer home delivery here. We have a drive-through pharmacy. So you're still getting some of those time-sensitive conveniences. And that's what we see for the next 90 years. We will certainly continue to build supercenters. But we'd like to add these stores and compete with Kroger, Whole Foods. I really don't think we will compete with Joe's. It's such a service point store, in more geared specialty, will still have value here. The gallon of milk will be the same price here as at a supercenter. And we can only do that with the supercenter in the market that has that kind of buying power. I hope I answered your question. I may have danced around it a little bit, but I hope.
No, that's okay. I think you got to the heart of it. That's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Is there any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? If not, this is a pending item. Commission rules state that pending items have been discussed at length at prior meetings, and that discussion from the audience requires a unanimous consent from the commission. There have been a lot of changes to this plan, and I'm going to see if any of the commissioners have any objection to opening up audience communication on this petition.
No, I
We keep it at a minimum.
Yes, I think what we'll do is we'll open up, appreciate my colleague's offer of that. We will open up the meeting for comments from the audience, but we are going to ask that because this has been an item discussed at length, that comments are limited to 2 minutes, and that you try to focus on new information that you present to us, because we have heard your comments previously. We do have those in our record, and we do have a number of emails that have also been sent to us that we have in detail. So, but we would like to give an opportunity for any new discussion from any of our audience members. So anyone wishing to speak, please come to one of the podiums, and we'll give you 2 minutes. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Kathleen McIntyre, 14455 Fairway Street, Livonia, and I've, in my past life, been a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Commission, Livonia City Council.
We appreciate your
And have
service.
followed this development through its long, very long history and many, many revisions, including the very first proposal, which was for a Kroger. And certainly, this is a tremendous improvement from them. And I'm watching my time, since unfortunately we still don't have a clock, and that's not on you, that's on the council. This is a quantum leap forward. All the comments that I've heard, I've been at the Winter Garden and followed this. Tremendous improvement. I think there, and whatever gets decided here is going to be there for the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. So this is a big decision, and I appreciate the weight of this decision from your perspective and council's perspective. And I appreciate the work that the developers and all the parties have done. I think there's still room for improvement with the townhouses. I hear a lot of things about arts and crafts. I know there have been a lot of improvements. There are still improvements. The community space is small. It's not, to call it a community square, I think is an exaggeration. I think there's room to make this look much more befitting a residential development that should be at a prime piece of real estate. The second comment is the Meijer needs to look like a neighborhood Meijer. It needs to look like the Meijer that is at 13 in Woodward. And the minute you put the giant, and I don't know all the architectural terms, and I should after all my time on these bodies, but the minute you put the big, whatever you call it, with the Meijer red and blue signage, you've now got a corner with a giant parking lot and a big box store, and that's what's going to be there forever. And I think the concept of a smaller Meijer is great. I'm out of time, but that the facade and the signage need a lot of rework. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. McIntyre.
Hi,
Hi, good evening, ma'am.
I'm Jan Stevens. I live at 19585 Pollyanna in Livonia. And my first comment is to the city of Livonia. I live in Windridge, but the people across 7 Mile from me have not been notified about what's happening. The people on all 4 corners have not been notified, and it seems to me like the city of Livonia should be notifying the residents that you serve about what the plans are for that corner. And I know people in all of those places that have not been notified and have no idea. The other thing is that the traffic flow is already bad, trying to make a left-hand turn. And they're planning on putting another driveway onto 7 Mile. You talked about Farmington Road, but 7 Mile is going to be having the same issue as what Farmington Road has with all the traffic flow. It's already really bad, and the roads aren't really good, and I think the traffic flow needs to be a whole lot better. When you're adding 100 homes with 100 cars, along with maybe 200 cars, because there's 2 people living in those condos, each with a car, and addition to Myers traffic flow. And especially at McDonald's, the backup already at McDonald's can go to the light and without anything on that corner. The other thing is the lights and the trucks coming and going at all hours of the day. Even during the heyday of Kmart and all of those establishments being there, you didn't have that many trucks coming and going as what you're going to have with a grocery store on that corner. And having the lights on at all hours. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Hello, my name is Joe Majorana, and I own Joe's Produce Gourmet Market in Livonia, 33152 West 7 Mile. My family has owned and operated Joe's Produce Gourmet Market in Livonia for 79 years. My grandfather started the business as a roadside market in 1945. In 1968, the first version of Joe's Produce Gourmet Market was opened in its current location. As a third-generation owner, I have been fortunate to expand our market, bringing additional business to Livonia and the adjacent center, and provide jobs for 150 employees. Over the years, Joe's Produce Gourmet Market has been heavily invested in the community, supporting a variety of charities, youth sports, community events. Our customers have become our friends. We have been fortunate to share with them in a supportive role countless generations, graduation parties, weddings, birthdays, special events. We worked hard to become part of the fabric of the community of Livonia, where we live and work every day. From our perspective, as the longest-serving grocer in Livonia, there already exists a number of shopping options for Livonia residents. Kroger on 8 Mile, Kroger on 6 Mile, Meyer Supercenter on Middle Belt, Walmart Supercenter on Plymouth Road, Walmart Supercenter at 7 Mile Road, Aldi at Schoolcraft, Costco at Middle Belt, Costco at Haggerty, Bush's Newburgh Plaza, Contoros Market on Middle Belt, Westbourne Market on Middle Belt. I'm sure I might have missed a few smaller markets, but at least, including Joe's Produce Market, there's 12 significant shopping choices for consumers. No one is clamoring for another grocery store. At 7 Mile and Farmington Road is proposed a 75,500 square foot Meyer store, which will be one of the largest grocery stores in Livonia.
Mr. Mayor.
At 7 Mile and Haggerty, a 50,000 square foot store located at Schoolcraft College is Nino Savaggio's has expressed interest. At 6 Mile and Haggerty, there is a proposed 50,000 square foot Whole Foods store.
Mr. Mayor.
In a Fort Mile, yes.
Can you please summarize? You've gone
Yeah,
over the 2
I get it
minutes.
right. I think I'm kind of summarizing my point.
Okay.
In a 3 to 4 mile radius, there's going to be 175,000 square feet of retail established in a established market. That's pretty much my whole point of it. Finally, always coming down to support business expansion and bringing jobs and economic vitality to our community. However, I need to stand up for my 150 full and part-time employees' livelihoods are tied to Joe's Produce Gourmet Market. Adding new jobs is one thing, but preserving existing jobs should also be important to the city goal. I ask you to please take this factor into consideration during your deliberations on the proposed development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Majorana. Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Jenny Krenz, 34075 Pembroke. I just basically have bullet points here, things that were not mentioned this time.
Certainly, thank you.
High rent. $2,500 for a two-bedroom, who knows what a three-bedroom is going to be. Where in this, did they read the room? Did they read the neighborhood to see if they could get tenants, constantly getting tenants at that much rent? If you can pay that much for rent, you can pay that much for a mortgage. He did not mention the hours that the store was going to be open. If you are at the corner of 7 Mile and Farmington at 9 o'clock in the evening, the neighborhood is asleep. Everybody has done their shopping. He did the square footage, 75,500. I think this is a larger store than he initially presented last year. And that store offers no more than any of the stores Joe just mentioned. There's nothing special about this Meijer. He did not mention the number of bays. If this is going to be a smaller store, the last time he mentioned he was going to need 7 bays. If it's a small store, 4 bays should be enough. The truck lights, what time of day do those trucks show up? What time in the middle of the night, in the morning? How disruptive. People in Windridge complain about the noise that the deliveries over at Primo's. Open and close, we don't know. At one time he said 24 hours. We don't need 24 hours. If we've shopped, during the day, we're done for the evening. Staff, how many people does he expect to have work in this store? How many times do you drive around this city or anywhere and see now hiring or help wanted? How does he figure he can staff this store to make it run efficiently and be customer friendly? He talks about trees in the apartments and the surrounding area. He did not mention a sprinkler system. Who's going to maintain that? With these condos or townhomes, is there, what do you call it? When you have a group, association fee.
Right.
Who's going to pay for the maintenance of those grounds?
Ms. Krenz, you've ran out of time.
Oh, can I just say just one more thing?
Go for it.
He talked about the brick. Now, I think what they're suggesting, because of the size of the building, is probably about this thick, rather than real brick. If he cut the size of this store in half, he could afford to do real brick. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Krenz. Good evening, Mr. King.
Steve King, 33950 Coventry. I was just watching at home, and so I missed the...
You ran on down. Thank you.
Yeah. And, they put together a great presentation. I know they modified the plan, and I know the city is desperate to put something there. And I think that council is going to approve this plan. That's me speaking, not the council. And so I think the best we can hope for is to make this as good as it possibly can be. And so I like the question about brick veneer, because for people, the uninitiated, if you want to see what brick veneer is, when you walk out of here today, look at the old city hall, the big chunk of brick veneer that is missing from that structure. I built a house on Surrey, 45,000 brick on my house that I put on, so I can get you the brick if you need it. Yeah, and all of the building materials. I have an issue with petitioners coming into Livonia. I don't know where they're from. Live in West Bloomfield, Birmingham. They couldn't use these facades in their own home communities where they live. This wouldn't fly in Northville, wouldn't fly in Plymouth, wouldn't fly in Northville. Don't give us fake brick. Give us brick and stone and something that really, really lasts. That is a brick. I lived in Windridge Village. Those are brick homes in there. It's a beautiful subdivision. And so it should be conforming. I mean, at least the hardy board is better than vinyl siding, but still, we need brick and stone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Hi, good evening.
How you doing? My name is Fabri. I'm 30508 Munger. I have a quick question.
Yes.
I want also say that for 45 years I was in the consulting engineering business. I'm a builder for over 35 years. I've been project lead engineer on a lot of these shopping centers and things. I guess one of the questions that I have, I'm going to be neutral whether or not the demographic works over there or whatever. We understand that we need some stuff over there. It's been dead for a long time. But the question is, the technical question is, what are we going to do about construction, noises, traffic, dust, debris, and how we deal with general pollution. And I think this is something that all the neighborhood is concerned too, and how much that traffic is impacting the local business on 7 Mile from Farmington. Appreciate it.
I will see what we can find for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Eric Young, 19356 Pollyanna Drive. My property is adjacent to the new development. My comments are probably more related to the development as a whole. I've written 2 letters, advocated, met the Showstack team in person at their Winter Garden event. I'm really concerned about the adjacent business solvency. That's one of my biggest items here overall about this new development. I've written to you all about the city utility infrastructure, the impacts that's going to have on our subdivision with 102 new units potentially there, what that does. I also am concerned about the traffic study. I know there was comments about that from one of the city departments, but the issue I think there is this, is that when the Kmart property was at its prime, the development for the housing was not in its prime. They never matched at peaks. So now you've had a peak housing growth up and down Gill Road when you've had a depreciation of that property. So with this new investment of 102 homes and a new running business of Meyer, I don't think you've got a true mesh of what the impact of the traffic is going to be to this community, is my honest assessment. A few things about Meyer. I've spoken with the Showstack team. I've also written about it. There's a missed opportunity to really reorganize this Meyer so it really is organized in a way that helps the community and they demonstrate good citizenship. I'd really like to see that building rotated 45 degrees counterclockwise and brought to the corner of 7 Mile and Farmington. That gives great set-off to the community and also to the residents that are going to be occupying those 102 homes. It gives you that buffer zone, Peter, that you were speaking to about earlier as well, too. What it also does is I would ask that you move all of the arteries of that new Meyer to the northeast corner adjacent to the commercial business and McDonald's. Anything with trucking, anything with compactors, chillers, coolers, whatever that building needs to operate it, put it to the Farmington roadside, please, and get it away from the residences. That would be great citizenship to the community, while you also still have the opportunity to put something in the place which is desperately needed in that area. I get that. As a longtime resident, as I mentioned before, as a legacy owner of this, of my home that I currently have. I'm concerned also about basically air conditioning on the townhomes. Where are those going to be? I haven't seen that. Are they in the back of the units that are adjacent to the new homes? Is there noise protection for those? Are they roof-mounted units? And I have the same question for the Meyer. I see on some of the plot plans some silhouettes of devices up on the unit. Is there noise protection for those also? If there's heating and cooling units up there, what that's going to be? Is there privacy screening up there too for the building aesthetic? Everything everybody's advocating for to really upgrade this community, which is what we all really want to see.
Mr. Young, your 2 minutes are up.
I'm going to speak just a couple more points. Thank you. About the knee wall that somebody raised, it does depend on what side of the wall you stand on, whether you're on the asphalt side or whether you're on the property side. Also, putting some kind of cap on it would be great. You know, metal corrugated steel that goes along this or something along it. Doesn't have to be masonry that adds on to it. You know, maybe just a capped wall that has some architectural prevalence to it would be fantastic to see. And I guess the only other comment I have based on the presentation is I don't understand why the townhomes are connected driving-wise to the Meyer property. I see that as a shortcut for people to get through, and the owners or the renters in the townhomes, I don't think would appreciate that shortcut traffic as well too. So I would ask you all to please look at that in your review process. But thank you for the time. Sorry for running over, and thank you for allowing me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Hi, good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tim Kilroy. I live at 20148 Stanford Drive, just a little bit north of the property of the proposed Meyer site. I had some notes prepared, but I think 2 letters that were read by, I think it's Mr. Bonjero earlier this evening. I think, did you read it? Yes. Kind of stole my thunder, especially the one from Paul Walters from the Traffic Bureau. I am especially concerned about the proposed traffic light at Gill Road in Farmington. I live on the north side there. I would have to travel through that every single time I want to go north or south on Farmington Road and be stopped by that. Couple issues. The people who live on the east side of Farmington Road, on Gable, Haldane, Westmore, and Shady side, those are very narrow roads, and that's already a cut-through, and that's going to be a new cut-through, more traffic on those roads. no sidewalks, and they live close to the homes or close to the roads. He mentioned also the McDonald's. What's the impact of that going to be? Already, if you want to look for a similar situation, go to the Looney Baker down on Farmington Road in Schoolcraft. They're close to a traffic light. And they have signs up that says, "Do not block the driveway." They dropped the word "please" many years ago. Pardon me. And then also the traffic, it doesn't meet the warrants for a new traffic light at that intersection. It's barely 1/8 of a mile long between the two. The light at 7 Mile is not a smart light, cannot be linked to the traffic light at Gill. And so therefore, if you're going traveling north and south on Farmington Road, you could be trapped in the no man's land there. And so please revisit the traffic study for that area and take into consideration Mr. Walter's comments. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, Mr. Kilroy. Hi, good
Hi, my
evening,
name is
ma'am.
Dawn Suave, 19201 Gill Road. I moved here when I was 5. It was farmland, it was gravel, all that good stuff. Please get rid of 7 Mile and put gravel down. It'd be a lot easier to drive around. That's one point I have to make. 2, I wish I would have knew you guys met at Winter Garden. I had a lot to say. Today, I felt like we're still at where we were last year. We are renting townhouses. Sorry, we're still renting. We're not owning it. Why can't we have a cute little community of the condos at Hunter Grove at 5 Mile in Newburgh? It's a beautiful little complex, low, just ranch-style stuff. We're still back at 3 stories and 2 stories? Come on. No, not here, not on the corner. I still feel like you didn't listen. We want to put a Myers in? We have too many grocery stores. Put something else on the corner. I'm just not happy. I feel like we're still back at square one.
All right,
Thanks.
we appreciate your comments. Thank you. Hi, good evening, sir.
Hi there. Chris Beers, 19448 Stanford. I live in Windridge Village. Most of mine are selfish because I back up to the wall. I get to see the apartments and a 20-foot wall where the trucks will be coming in every night. I thank them for what they did the other day at the Winter Garden. They were very informational, but it still doesn't, and again, it's selfish of me because I'm going to see the trucks coming in. I'm going to hear the trucks coming in. It's going to take my property value down. And I'm concerned about all my other neighbors, and I'm on the board at Windridge Village, and everybody telling us about traffic. Traffic is horrendous there. And I know you guys it's a broken record here, but somebody is going to die coming in or out of there. And unless we can figure something else out, I give them credit for trying to develop something on that corner because it's been barren forever, and I want something just like everybody else does. But I'm not like the woman who just spoke. It's still not there. There's still work to be done. And we've got too many great, stores around. There is something that we need here. I don't have the answers. I hope they come up with the answers, and I hope we come up with the answers, and hopefully you guys can come up with the answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Deepak Kumar C. Parikh, and I'm a Windridge Village resident since 1981.
Excellent.
My address is 19393 Pollyanna Drive, by the way.
Okay.
3 bullet points I like to talk about. One is the traffic congestion. During business hours, we have enough hardships turning left from Norwich to 7 Mile Road. More traffic lights will not cut it while adding new Meyer store and 100 plus townhouses. Can we live with 8 Mile and Haggerty traffic corner where the Northfield Myers is located? Nothing against them, but I think there are lots of people like me who avoid that particular corner where Myers is located, 8 Mile and Haggerty in particular. We don't want to turn Farmington Road or 7 Mile Road into another Haggerty Road. Just for your information. While driving on Gill Road today, between 7 Mile and 8 Mile Road, I saw a sign today, and this is true story. I saw a sign, the sign was saying, drive as if your children are living here. And this is the sign, you can
I've seen it.
Witness it. So I like to request, along with my neighbors from the Windridge Village and other Deer Creek and other subdivisions. We request Planning Commission to plan and develop this particular corner, and keeping in mind that as if your family is living in the neighborhood. Another point I like to make is safety and security. At the last meeting in July, and I don't want to repeat it, there was a 92-year-old lady, and she told that, and these townhouses are new name for the apartments. Nothing much has changed from the last proposal. And she said that time, and I quote her, she said that every day there are police calls. I think this particular new community of townhouses is not going to be any different than apartment buildings. They have cut the size, and I think it's not right. We feel that this is the same proposal which has been whitewashed or dressed up, and concerns are same. Nothing much has changed on the proposal. Within a 3-mile radius, 2 to 3 mile radius, just like our friend from Joe's Produce said, we have Kroger, Joe's Produce, Myers, Bush, Trader Joe's, and lots of other grocery stores. Why we want to bring another Myers store in the corner when I can go down to Haggerty Road and 8 Mile Road?
Sir,
I don't see any need for it. Thanks. And I just want to into one more point, if you allow me.
Really quickly.
Yeah. So I'd like to take liberty to request the Planning Commission to cancel this proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Susan Ahn. I've been a resident of Livonia in 2 homes here for over 30 years, and I love our community. I also want to say thank you to each and every one of you for the calling you've accepted to help us enforce building development in Livonia. I'm asking tonight for your consideration and support to the mayor's message for Vision 21. That vision incorporates multi-use opportunities in our community. I look at the Meyer/residential property development not as multi-use, but as residential and commercial. And commercial in an industry where we are well populated with stores and opportunities to shop. I'd really like to see Vision 21 supported in a way that incorporates multi-use facilities, incorporating open space, taking structural things like parking lots for 200 cars off of the main street, and showing Livonia for what it could be as a small, tightly woven fabric of a community that works together and also encourages people to be together. My voice tonight is really for Vision 21 and really supports the mayor's message at the groundbreaking ceremony for the senior center, which was the catalyst for Vision 21, and supported by U.S. representatives, our Michigan senator, and our Michigan representatives this week. We were proudly given grants for this project, and it really is the catalyst to start this change. Please consider that in this project of multi-use or commercial and residential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hong. I don't see anyone else coming forward, so I'm going to close the comment period for this meeting. Appreciate everyone's comments and cooperation through that process. We did receive everything that you said, and we're going to take those comments into account. I'm going to first go to the petitioner and see if there's anything else that they would like to say based on anything that they've heard or any other comments that they would like to make before we make our decision. Is there anything from any of the petitioner's representatives? Mr. Shostak.
Excuse me. Thank you for all the comments from all the residents. We heard all of them. We think we've made a lot of changes. Obviously, we did not satisfy many of the residents tonight, but we've been working on this a long time, and we'd like to try to continue to move forward. So there's too many for us to come up here and answer every question. I think a lot of them somewhat have been answered. Some are in different reports and, can certainly be talked about. So with that, I would just like to thank everyone for their comments and, let you guys have your discussion. Thank you.
All right, let's see if we have any additional questions from any of the commissioners for the petitioner before we close this item. Is there any other comments or questions from any of the commissioners? If not, I think we've concluded the comment period. Thank you, everyone, and a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I can't make a motion, so I'm looking at you guys.
Yeah, all right.
Mr. Ventura.
I'll make an approving resolution. That the request for special waiver use approval under section 5.02 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to develop a planned general development consisting of a 75,466 square foot Meyer grocery store and a 102-unit multifamily residential townhome complex on the property at 33500 West 7 Mile Road is approved, subject to the following conditions.
Mr. Ventura, before you go into those, are you looking at the latest
Oh, you know what?
item that was emailed to us?
How does he get that?
Probably not.
Because there are some updated conditions in that latest email. I just want to make sure that we get the right one in the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I'm not going to read the introduction again, and
Sure.
so
It's the same.
I'll go back and say subject to the following conditions. And number one is the preliminary site plan identified as drawing C 2.0 dated May 17th, 2024 is revised and prepared by PEA Group is hereby approved and shall be adhered to. Number two, landscape plans identified as drawings L-1.0, L-1.1, L-1.2, and L-1.3, L-1.4, and L-1.5, all dated May 17, 2024, as revised and prepared by PEA Group are hereby approved and shall be adhered to. In addition to the landscape plans, and I'm departing from the written prepared
Certainly.
resolution at this point. In addition to the landscape plans referenced, the developer will work with the Planning Commission to expand and raise the planting beds between the townhomes and the Meyer store as discussed to the extent possible. And you'll work with the planning department to accomplish that change.
Privacy wall, too. Raise the privacy wall.
Can you add that at the end?
Yeah.
Number three, all disturbed lawn areas, including rights-of-way, shall be sodded instead of hydroseeding. Number four, underground sprinklers shall be provided for all landscaped and sodded areas. All planted materials shall be installed to the satisfaction of the inspection department and then permanently maintained in a healthy condition. Number five, all parking spaces except the required handicap spaces shall be double striped and 10 feet wide. Number six, the revised exterior building elevation plan is identified as Meyer LVA parentheses 75K close parentheses grocery format form liner prepared by Fishback dated April 12th, 2024 and received by the Planning Commission on June 18th, 2024 is hereby approved except that the west side of the grocery store shall be modified to include the same features shown on both the south and east elevations, including the masonry split face pattern, articulated precast concrete pilasters. I want to ask you to strike that, Mr. Wilshaw, and say that the developer and Meyer will work with the planning department to produce a brick building of such an architectural design as to enhance its compatibility with the residential development that they're building and the surrounding residences in Windridge Village and across the street and south of 7 Mile Road.
Okay.
And The building referred to in the site plans that I recited is not approved with the precast concrete construction.
So what I'm hearing is that you are saying that the exterior plans are approved with the exception that brick be used in lieu of.
That is correct.
Oh, okay. That way the rest of the LR features are
Right.
incorporated. Okay. Thank you.
Number 7, all townhome elevations and plans identified as sheets A201, A202, and A203, all dated June 18th, 2024, prepared by Spire Design Group, are hereby approved and shall be adhered to, except that the first level of all the buildings shall be brick or stone on all 4 sides, and brick shall be added to the second level of 2-story buildings. Number 8, installation of the traffic signal on Farmington Road shall be deferred until after the grocery store has been open for at least 1 year. The developer shall provide a traffic study with actual accounts to be reviewed by the Wayne County Traffic Division, the Livonia Traffic Bureau, and the City of Livonia Engineering Department within 45 days following the 1-year period. The petitioner shall install the signal if warrants are met and determined by the traffic study and confirmed by the Wayne County City. To the traffic patterns after the store is opened, as determined by the City of Livonia Traffic Bureau based on observations, accident data, or the developer shall install a traffic signal within a reasonable time frame upon notification by the city. Number 9, the maximum height of all pole light fixtures shall be 20 feet and shall be located and shielded to prevent light trespassing and glaring on adjacent properties. Number 10, the walls of the dumpster enclosure shall be constructed of masonry that matches or complements the masonry on the buildings. The enclosure gate shall consist of steel or durable fiberglass panels. Number 11, the design of stormwater detention system shall meet either the City of Livonia engineering standards or the Wayne County Stormwater Management Ordinance, whichever applies. Number 12, the developer, all contractors and subcontractors shall employ best management practices to prevent, reduce, and mitigate the problems associated with soil erosion and airborne dirt, excuse me, and dust for migrating off-site. And number 13, only conforming signs are approved with this petition, and any additional sign shall be submitted for review and approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And number 14, pursuant to the section 13.13 of Livonia zoning ordinance as amended, this approval is valid for a period of 1 year only from the date of approval by the City Council, and unless a building permit is obtained, this approval shall be null and void at the expiration of said period. Mr. Bonjero, would you like to add an amendment to this with regard to the wall?
That the existing privacy wall be extended to a minimum of 6 feet and repainted.
And you're all right with that, Mr. Ventura?
I am.
Okay. Is there support for that motion? I'm looking at the two of you.
Can I support it?
Yeah, you
It's
can
my
support.
motion,
It's
isn't it?
well, it's Mr. It's Mr. Ventura's motion. You've just added
I'll
an
support it.
element
Okay.
onto it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ponchero.
Yeah, sure.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve. Is there discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chairman.
There's been a number of additions and changes made to that. Mr. Tormina.
Yes, if the maker of the motion would consider an additional change and something that we failed to put in the prepared resolution, and that's that the approval being subject to the petitioner submitting a development agreement that would be executed between the city and the developer, and this would address certain issues that are pertinent to the construction, including hours of operation, permitted and prohibited uses, truck delivery hours, and all of those things. So that's something that would be submitted back to the city council for its approval prior to any construction on the site.
Okay, and would the maker and supporter both be in agreement to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tormina. I think that's an excellent addition. Is there any other comments, additions, corrections? discussion on the motion? If not, before we take the vote, I do want to, I'm not going to be able to say anything in terms of my opinion on this as chairman, but I do want to say that, so folks in our audience understand, this has been a long road that this petition has been on, as you folks are fully aware of and have followed it along. And it has gone through many iterations, many changes, and incremental changes that we've seen just in the last few weeks. The petition that's before us tonight that you saw, the buildings did not look that same last week at our study meeting. Comments were made at that meeting. The petitioner made adjustments and presented new plans to us for tonight. You've now heard some additional corrections based on comments that you made at the meeting tonight in terms of traffic lights and other requests. So this goalpost keeps moving, and it keeps hopefully making the proposal a little bit better each time. There's still going to be one more step to go. This is an approving recommendation that's being offered. This will then go to City Council. The City Council will then see this item. They will have to deliberate this in front of the public. You'll have an opportunity to speak at the City Council, and the City Council will ultimately make the decision on this. So there's still another opportunity for changes and improvements and movement on this petition. So what you're hearing tonight is not necessarily the final package, and your input definitely helps in that process. So I just want to thank everyone for that and just make those comments so you understand how this process works. We are just a recommending body. If there's no further comments, there is an approving motion on the floor, and I'm going to ask for a vote on that. Mr. Secretary.
Did we get a support?
Yes, it was made by Ventura, supported by you.
Okay. Mr. Ventura?
Votes aye.
Mr. Bonjero is aye. Mr. Long?
Aye.
Chairman Wilshaw?
Votes aye. That motion passes. It'll be recommended for approval to City Council. There is one more item in regards to this petition. Mr. Secretary, do you want to read that out quickly?
Yes. It's the approval of the minutes of the 1,214th public hearings and regular meeting held by the Planning Commission.
Oh, excuse me. We're talking number 3.
Oh, okay. I thought they went together. Okay. Sorry.
No,
Petition
need a separate vote.
2023-06-02-08 submitted by Meyer, Inc., requesting waiver use approval pursuant to Section 6.03 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to utilize an SDM liquor license, sale of packaged beer and wine products for consumption off premises in connection with the operation of a new Meyer store at 33500 7 Mile Road, located on the northwest corner of 7 Mile and Farmington Roads in the southeast quarter of Section 4.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Tormina, the planning staff has already given us a presentation on this item and read the correspondence. Is there any additional information you want to provide?
No, we'll just point out that the ordinance that regulates the sale of beer and wine products for consumption off the premises, this deals with specially designated merchant licenses issued by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission that's regulated under Section 6.03. There are 2 separation requirements. The first dealing with the separation between other SDM licensed establishments, and that was addressed with Mr. Ronane's, Detective Ronane's letter read out earlier, in the fact that there are 3 other establishments within that 400-foot distance of the proposed building. That is a situation that will have to be waived by City Council should the Planning Commission adopt an approving resolution. And then the ordinance also requires 400 feet of separation between any church or school. There are no churches or schools, buildings that exist within 400 feet of the proposed Meyer store. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tormina. Is there any questions for planning staff? And just to reiterate, I just want to remind myself, Mr. Ronane's letter was recommending not approving the license, or he had at least reservations.
He thought that it would be best to adhere to the city's current policy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tormina. I'll go to the petitioner. Is there anything you'd like to add on this element of the petition, the SDM license? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Jason Vandercote with Fishbeck, civil engineer for Meyer.
Okay.
With me tonight is Chris Jones. Do you have the 3-slide presentation? Thank you. It's on the screen, I see. Would just like to respond to the distance comment offered by the city, and to note that Wintergreen Tavern, Wine Castle Beer Store, Primo's Pizzeria are all also within the same distance of each other. And so applying that distance to Meyer solely and not to the existing establishments would be unequal protection. So we're asking for the same opportunities that the existing businesses have in the district. Chris, is there anything you would like to add?
Obviously, this is an important category in the store. It would be for any grocery store that would come before you. Given Livonia's really strong stance about no liquor, this is just for off-premises beer and wine. Maybe that's an obvious point, but I just wanted to make that clear. We appreciate your support on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And I am remiss in not having this item removed from the table before discussing it. Can I get a motion to remove this item from the table, please?
I'd like to make a motion to remove it from the table.
By Mr. Bonjero, supported by Mr. Long. If there's no objection, we'll show 4 on that. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for your presentation. Is there any questions from any of the commissioners in regards to the SDM license? If not, this item again has been discussed at length at a prior meeting. Comments from the audience would require unanimous consent from the commissioners. I don't know that there's anyone in the audience really wishing to speak directly on that, but I think that this item has been discussed fairly well already. If there's no further comments from any of the commissioners, a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Long.
I'd like to offer an approving resolution that the request to operate an SDM liquor license at the proposed Meyer grocery store at 33500 7 Mile Road is hereby approved for the following reasons, subject to City Council approval and the following conditions. Number 1, this approval is subject to the City Council waiving the requirement under Section 6.032A of the Livonia zoning ordinance, which states that there be at least 500 feet of distance between SDM licensed establishments. Number 2, the subject site has the capacity to accommodate the proposed use. Number 3, an SDM liquor license at this location will complement the grocery store by providing an additional service to customers. And number 4, the waiver is granted to this petitioner only, and any new user shall first require the consent of City Council.
Is there support?
Support.
There's a motion made by Mr. Long, supported by Mr. Bonjero to approve. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero is aye. Mr. Ventura?
No.
Chairman Wilshaw?
This isn't going to be pretty. Chairman votes no. We're at a split impasse yet again. Would someone like to offer a tabling resolution on this to either break the tie or further research this element of the petition?
I'll offer a resolution that tables this particular issue.
I think that would be reasonable, given the fact that this gives time. The petitioner still has time to get through other elements of this before they get to this liquor license or the SDM license anyway. Mr. Ventura is offering that motion to table. Is there support?
Support.
Mr. Bonjero. There is no discussion on a tabling motion. If the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Ventura?
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero is aye. Mr. Long?
No.
Chairman Wilshaw?
Votes aye, and the item has been tabled. That takes us to approval of minutes. Mr. Secretary?
That's the approval of the minutes of the 1,214th public hearings and regular meeting held by the Planning Commission on June 4th, 2024.
All members of that meeting were present. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Supported by,
Support.
we have Bonjero and
Support,
Long. On the minutes, if there's no objection, I think we can safely show 4 on that. And that takes us to the end of our meeting. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
By Mr. Ventura, supported by
Support.
Mr. Bonjero. Again, if there's no objections, I think we can safely show 4 to adjourn this meeting tonight. I would like to thank Livonia staff, television staff, for bringing this meeting to our community. And we are going to adjourn this meeting tonight at 9:21 p.m. Thank you and good night, Livonia.